The shocking true story of Marianne Bachmeier. Imagine this. A packed courtroom in West Germany, the air thick with tension, the weight of justice hanging like a storm cloud. A mother, her face etched with unimaginable grief, stands silently among the crowd. In her pocket, a hidden secret, a loaded pistol, cold and unforgiving. As the man who brutally murdered her 7-year-old daughter rises to speak, spewing lies that defile the child's memory, she makes her move. 7 shots ring out, echoing through the halls of law and order. Blood stains the floor. Chaos erupts. But for this mother, it's not madness, it's retribution. This is the harrowing tale of Marianne Bachmeier, a woman pushed to the brink by a system that failed her, a predator who stole her world's light, and an act of vigilante justice that shocked the world. Welcome to Shadows of Justice, where we delve into the darkest corners of the human soul, uncovering the truths that haunt us all. Tonight, we explore a case that blurs the lines between victim and vigilante, mother and murderer. Picture the innocence lost, the rage ignited, and the questions that linger. When the law fails, does a parent's love justify taking a life? Stay with us as we unravel the full, unflinching story of Marianne Bachmeier, the avenging mother whose desperate act divided a nation and echoed across the globe. Let me take you back to the beginning, to the roots of a life marred by pain, abandonment, and unyielding hardship. Marianne Bachmeier entered this world on June 3rd, 1950, in the town of Sarstedt, West Germany, a place shadowed by the ghosts of war and its aftermath. You can almost feel the chill in the air of post-World War II Germany, a nation rebuilding from ruins, where families like Marianne's carried the heavy burden of history. Her family had relocated there amid public persecution and intense scrutiny, all because her father had been a former official in the German National Socialist Party. During the horrors of World War II, he had served as a member of the notorious SS, the Schutzstaffel, Hitler's elite paramilitary force infamous for their role in atrocities that scarred humanity forever. Imagine growing up under that shadow, where whispers of your father's past followed you like a relentless specter. The stigma was palpable, isolating the family from neighbors who viewed them with suspicion and disdain. In this conservative household, Marianne's upbringing was anything but nurturing. Raised by deeply religious tutors who emphasized discipline over affection, she never knew the warmth of a happy childhood. Her parents were distant figures, more like overseers than caregivers. Her father, authoritarian to his core, was a man consumed by his demons. Abusive and alcoholic, he preferred the dim lights and clinking glasses of the local bar to the responsibilities of family life. Picture young Marianne, a small girl with wide eyes, listening to the slurred rants and violent outbursts that shattered the night silence. His aggression wasn't just verbal. It spilled over into physical abuse, creating an atmosphere of fear that permeated every corner of their home. Her mother, equally detached, rarely spoke to her daughter or spent meaningful time with her. Instead of bonding, there was only cold indifference, a void where love should have been. As her father's drinking escalated, so did the chaos. The aggression intensified, turning their home into a battlefield where safety was a fleeting illusion. Eventually, this toxic dynamic led to the parents' divorce, and the father abandoned the house, leaving a fractured family in his wake. For a brief moment, Marianne dared to hope. This could be her chance at freedom, at happiness untainted by a shadow. But fate, cruel and unrelenting, had other plans. Her mother soon remarried, bringing another abusive man into their lives. You can envision the dread creeping back in, the cycle repeating itself with eerie familiarity. Instead of uniting against this new tormentor, Marianne's mother turned against her own daughter, blaming the young girl for the family's unending problems. It was as if Marianne was the scapegoat, the embodiment of all their misfortunes. This betrayal shattered their already fragile relationship, leaving Marianne isolated and heartbroken. Seen as a troublesome teenager, perhaps because her spirit refused to break entirely under the weight of it all, Marianne was eventually kicked out of the house. Thrust into the world at a vulnerable age, she faced the harsh realities of survival alone. During her adolescence, the assaults began, multiple violations from different men, each one chipping away at her sense of self, her trust in humanity. At just 16 years old, she gave birth to her first child, a baby born from trauma. But with no resources, no support, and the baby's father abandoning her without a backward glance, she was forced to give the infant up for adoption. Imagine the gut-wrenching pain of that decision, holding a newborn only to let go, knowing society offered no safety net for a girl like her. 2 years later, at 18, history repeated itself in the most agonizing way. Pregnant again by an abusive boyfriend, Marianne clung to the hope of keeping this child. But before the birth, another traumatic assault occurred at a nightclub, a violation that stripped away any remaining illusions of safety. Her boyfriend, predictably, left her to face it alone. Once more, she surrendered the child for adoption, her heart fracturing further with each goodbye. These experiences weren't just events. They were psychological scars, embedding deep-seated fears, resentments, and a profound sense of abandonment. Psychologists might tell you that such repeated traumas shape a person's worldview, fostering a hypervigilance, a distrust of relationships, and an internal battle between vulnerability and self-protection. Desperate for stability, Marianne dropped out of school and sought work to support herself. She found employment at a bar named Tipesa, a dimly lit establishment where the air was thick with cigarette smoke and the murmur of patrons seeking escape. There, she met the manager, and over time, their professional relationship blossomed into romance. At 22, she discovered she was pregnant with her third child. This time, something shifted within her. She felt ready, armed with some meager resources and a semblance of a home. But her boyfriend disagreed vehemently, ending their relationship and leaving her to navigate motherhood solo once again. Firm in her resolve, Marianne chose to raise her daughter, Anna, alone, defying her parents' insistent demands to give the baby up for adoption like the others. After Anna's birth, Marianne made a solemn vow to herself. She would be a good mother, breaking the cycle of neglect she had endured. To ensure no more unintended pregnancies in an era concerned with overpopulation, she underwent tubal ligation, a surgical procedure that tied her fallopian tubes, a common practice at the time. It was a definitive step, symbolizing her commitment to focusing on the child she had now. Marianne and little Anna settled in Lübeck, Germany, a picturesque town by the Baltic Sea, where cobblestone streets and medieval architecture masked the struggles within their modest home. Despite the challenges, financial strains, emotional baggage, they persevered. For Marianne, Anna became her anchor, her reason to endure. She was the only person in Marianne's life who offered unconditional love, free from the harm inflicted by parents or ex-partners. You can picture the tender moments, Marianne cradling Anna, whispering promises of a better future, her daughter's innocent eyes reflecting a purity that healed old wounds. Yet, reality intruded harshly. Raising Anna alone meant Marianne had to work long hours at the bar, often bringing her daughter along. Imagine this scene, a bustling bar filled with laughter and clatter, and in a quiet corner, a small child nestled amid the chaos. Marianne could only attend to Anna during fleeting breaks, stealing moments to check on her, feed her, or soothe her cries. As years passed, those close to Marianne observed that she treated Anna like a little adult, expecting her to handle responsibilities beyond her years. From a young age, Anna learned self-reliance, perhaps too much so, navigating the world with a maturity forced upon her. Often, Anna would sleep in the bar while Marianne worked late into the night, the rhythmic hum of conversations lulling her to rest. A friend later described Anna as a vibrant, creative child, full of life and imagination, yet deprived of a stable family structure. She only occasionally saw her father at the bar, brief encounters that offered no real paternal bond. Stories from the time paint a poignant picture. Marianne, exhausted from her shifts, sleeping through the day, leaving 7-year-old Anna to her own devices for hours. The child would wander the neighborhood alone, greeting friendly faces, playing with pets, her laughter echoing through the streets like a beacon of innocence in an indifferent world. Marianne was acutely aware of her problematic lifestyle, the late nights, the instability, and it said she sometimes contemplated giving Anna up for adoption, wrestling with guilt and doubt. Psychologically, this internal conflict speaks volumes. A mother torn between her love and her limitations, haunted by her past decisions, fearing she might perpetuate the cycle of abandonment she knew all too well. The atmosphere in their home was one of makeshift resilience, where love existed amid the cracks, but vulnerability loomed large. This fragile existence shattered on May 5th, 1980, a day that began like any other but descended into unimaginable horror. What exactly transpired that morning between mother and daughter remains shrouded in uncertainty, adding layers of mystery to the tragedy. Some accounts suggest they argued fiercely, Anna waking in a foul mood, stubbornly refusing to go to school, insisting instead on playing in the park. Marianne, firm and frustrated, denied her, perhaps seeing echoes of her own rebellious youth. Other versions paint a softer picture. Anna pleading to skip school for a day of fun with friends, and Marianne relenting after some persuasion, unaware of the dangers lurking beyond their door. Regardless of the prelude, Anna ventured outside to play, her small figure disappearing into the neighborhood's familiar paths. When Marianne returned home later that day, an eerie silence greeted her. No sign of Anna, no toys scattered, no laughter filling the rooms. At first, she brushed it off as typical childish wanderings, deciding to wait a few hours. But as the clock ticked onward and dusk crept in, anxiety gnawed at her. Picture Marianne's growing panic, pacing the floors, peering out windows, her heart pounding with each unanswered call of her daughter's name. Finally, she scoured the neighborhood, knocking on doors, questioning Anna's friends and locals. "Have you seen my little girl? She's 7, with bright eyes and a smile that lights up the room." But no one knew anything. It was as if Anna had vanished in a thin air, swallowed by some unseen void. Desperation mounting, Marianne reported the disappearance to the police, her voice trembling as she described her daughter's last known whereabouts. The authorities launched a search, but the night brought no answers, only deepening dread. The next day, May 6, 1980, brought a breakthrough laced with devastation. A distraught and nervous woman stormed into the police station, her words tumbling out in a rush of horror and betrayal. This woman was the girlfriend of Klaus Grabowski, a 35-year-old man who owned a butcher shop near Marianne's home. Overcome with guilt after committing an unspeakable act, Grabowski had confessed everything to her in graphic detail. The revelation sparked a fierce argument, after which he fled to a nearby bar for a drink, seeking numb solace in alcohol. Seizing the moment, his girlfriend raced to the authorities, reporting him and unleashing the truth that would shatter lives. The grim reality unfolded. Anna had been abducted by Grabowski that fateful morning. Innocent and trusting, she had gone to his butcher's shop, drawn by his earlier promise that she could play with his cats anytime she visited. Picture the scene: the child ringing the doorbell, her face alight with excitement, unaware of the monster behind the door. Grabowski welcomed her in, but what followed was a nightmare of betrayal. He held her captive in his home for several agonizing hours, assaulting her repeatedly in ways that defy comprehension. To silence her forever, to prevent her from revealing his crimes, he suffocated her with a pair of his girlfriend's stockings, snuffing out her young life in an act of cold calculation. Grabowski was no stranger to darkness. His history was a tapestry of depravity. Previously convicted for assaulting 2 young girls, he carried the weight of a troubled past that society had failed to contain. In 1973, he had attacked a 6-year-old girl, charged with attempted murder, a crime that screamed for intervention. 2 years later, facing charges for these heinous acts, he underwent a psychological evaluation. The results were damning: an abnormal sexual instinct coupled with a significantly limited capacity to control it. Instead of prison, he was committed to a psychological treatment center, a decision that prioritized rehabilitation over punishment, but one that would prove disastrously short-sighted. A few years into his treatment, Grabowski was offered a controversial option: chemical castration in exchange for early release. This procedure involved administering drugs to suppress libido and testosterone levels, theoretically reducing the risk of reoffending. Eager to avoid further institutionalization, he accepted readily. It was a practice common for such offenders at the time, often leading to lighter sentences under the misguided belief that they were no longer a threat. But chemical castration is reversible, and Grabowski was released without ongoing evaluations, slipping back into society like a ticking time bomb. 2 years after his release, he sought and received court approval for hormonal treatment to reverse the effects, boosting his testosterone under the pretext of wanting to start a family with his girlfriend and live a normal life. This deception fooled everyone, masking his predatory nature behind a facade of reformed intentions. On the day authorities learned of his crimes against Anna, they rushed to his residence, but he was gone. He had callously disposed of her body, hiding it in a cardboard box near a canal, and left a note for his girlfriend to meet him at a bar that night to discuss the situation. Seizing this lead, police staked out the bar, arresting Grabowski upon arrival. In interrogation, he spun a web of despicable lies, claiming no intention of harming Anna. Instead, he alleged the 7-year-old had tried to seduce and extort him, threatening to falsely accuse him of inappropriate touching unless he paid her. Fearful of returning to jail, he said he panicked and ended her life. These fabrications were not just defenses. They were psychological manipulations, shifting blame to an innocent child to evade accountability. When police recovered Anna's body and informed Marianne, the news hit like a thunderbolt. Devastated, she collapsed under the weight of grief, her world crumbling into irreparable fragments. But the trial that followed amplified her agony. Forced to endure testimonies that dissected her life and Anna's, she heard accusations that Anna was essentially raised on the streets, neglected by a mother who worked late as a bar waitress, leaving her vulnerable. Such an incident, they implied, was inevitable due to Marianne's negligence. These words weren't just hurtful, they were soul-crushing, igniting a fury that burned deep within her. Tormented by the fear that Grabowski might escape full punishment, perhaps pleading mental health issues to avoid prison, she silently began plotting revenge. Consequences be damned. Throughout the trial, Grabowski doubled down on his lies, insisting Anna had seduced and extorted him, and blaming his hormonal treatments for violent outbursts. His defense painted him as a victim of his own biology, a man not fully in control. Marianne, listening to these defamations of her daughter, seethed with rage. She secretly purchased a gun, a Beretta .22 caliber pistol, and practiced shooting in secluded spots, honing her aim with a determination born of maternal fury. Each session was a ritual of preparation, her mind replaying the horrors, stealing her resolve. Her displeasure was evident at every court appearance, her face a mask of barely contained anger as statements slandered her 7-year-old. The atmosphere in the courtroom grew electric, charged with unspoken tensions. Then, on the third day of the trial, March 6, 1981, the drama reached its climax. Marianne arrived later than usual, her expression blank, her posture upright and deliberate. Clad in a white coat, hands buried in pockets, she had smuggled the pistol past security, a feat that spoke to the era's lax protocols or perhaps her unassuming demeanor. As proceedings unfolded, Grabowski sat with his back to her, facing the judge. The room hummed with routine, lawyers arguing, witnesses murmuring. When Grabowski rose to give his statement, repeating his vile accusations, Marianne seized the moment. Time seemed to slow. She pulled the pistol, her hands steady despite the nerves. 7 shots erupted in rapid succession, 6 striking true, hitting Grabowski in the back, causing him to crumple like a discarded puppet. The precision astonished onlookers. It was no wild flurry, but a calculated execution. Chaos ensued. Screams, scrambling feet, the acrid smell of gunpowder. But Marianne stood expressionless, her lips moving slightly as if whispering a final curse. She made no attempt to flee, surrendering calmly to security. As they restrained her, she uttered words laced with raw emotion. "That pig killed my daughter. He shot her in the face, but I shot him in the back. I hope he's dead." An officer checked Grabowski's pulse, confirming his death. Upon hearing this, relief washed over Marianne's face, a fleeting peace amid the storm. Now, the tables turned. Marianne faced her own trial, a labyrinth of legal and moral complexities. Witnesses described her as trance-like post-shooting, struggling to process her actions. A forensic psychiatrist examined her, requesting she write something for handwriting analysis and mental state assessment. She penned, "I did it for Anna," encircling the words with 7 hearts, perhaps one for each year of her daughter's stolen life. This poignant gesture revealed the depth of her love and loss. a psychological snapshot of a mother unmoored by grief. The next day, German newspapers splashed her photo across front pages, dubbing her the Avenging Mother. The case exploded into the most notorious example of vigilante justice in West Germany, captivating the nation and beyond. Media frenzy ensued. Television crews from Europe flocked to Lübeck, dissecting the tragedy's layers. It wasn't just a crime. It was a referendum on justice, parenthood, and systemic failures. Marianne's trial for murder began swiftly. She testified to being unaware of her actions, claiming a trance state, even recounting a dream where Anna wandered the courtrooms, a hallucination born of profound trauma. Her mental health had deteriorated, she said, plunged into depression and dissociation following Anna's death. But then came a lie that undermined her. She claimed the gun was bought for suicide, not vengeance. Skeptics abounded. Evidence of premeditation, her practice sessions, was irrefutable. Public opinion split dramatically. Many in Germany and worldwide championed Marianne, viewing her as a heroine who rectified a failed system, one that released Grabowski prematurely and approved his reversal treatments without scrutiny. They demanded her freedom, seeing her act as justified retribution. Others condemned her as a criminal who usurped justice, a murderer whose courtroom vigilantism endangered innocence. Critics also scrutinized her motherhood, abandoning her first 2 children for adoption, her lifestyle. They painted her as irresponsible, her crime cold-blooded. Amid this controversy, on November 2nd, 1982, Marianne faced charges. After 28 days of intense negotiations, the prosecution withdrew the murder charge. In March 1983, the jury convicted her of involuntary manslaughter and illegal firearm possession, sentencing her to 6 years. But 3 years in, authorities reconsidered, deeming her punishment undeserved, and released her early, a nod to the extenuating circumstances of her grief-driven act. Post-release, Marianne sold her life story to a news magazine for about 250,000 German marks, explaining it covered legal debts. With the Berlin Wall's fall, she returned to a unified Germany, but fate dealt another blow, a pancreatic cancer diagnosis. In her final years, media interviews thrust her into tense spotlights, often equating her to Grabowski as fellow murderers. Composed, she defended her actions. She ensured justice for Anna, countering his lies even in death. Knowing her end neared, Marianne invited a reporter to film her last moments, a raw documentation of mortality. She passed on September 17, 1996, at 46, buried beside Anna in Lübeck Cemetery, a poignant reunion in eternity. As we reflect on Marianne Bachmeier's story, we're left grappling with profound questions about human nature. What drives a mother to such extremes? Is it pure love or a toxic brew of trauma and rage? The consequences ripple outward, a predator silenced, a family forever broken, justice both served and subverted. In the end, this case reminds us of the fragile line between victim and avenger, the failures of systems meant to protect, and the enduring power of a parent's bond. Lingering questions haunt. Could better interventions have saved Anna? Was Marianne's act heroism or hubris? As shadows lengthen, one truth endures: the darkness in us all, and the light we fight to preserve. Thank you for joining us on Shadows of Justice. Until next time, stay vigilant.